Thanks for tuning into No Wine in No Time. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going to explore a pink-skinned white wine grape by the name of Gewurztraminer. So Gewurztraminer has 14 letters, and I think it's the longest grape name in all of the wine world. But let's talk about where that name came from and what exactly it means. So Gewurztraminer, let's break it into two pieces. Gewürz in German means spicy, and Traminer, if we look at where that gets its lineage, there's a place in Italy, in the northern part, called Tramin. And in Tramin, Italy, this is thought to be the ancestral home of Gewurztraminer. So it's the spicy grape from Tramin, Italy. And in that area, it's so far north in Italy that they're actually German-speaking people that live there. So when we look at where Gewurztraminer is in the world and where it really gets its best expression, we look to the Franco-Germanic border of Alsace and also the extreme western part of Germany. When we look in those areas, there not only is more Gewurztraminer planted, but it's also held at some very high reverence. In Alsace, there are 4 noble grapes of Alsace, and one of them is Gewurztraminer. So I look at it and I kind of say that it is a spicy type of Riesling. And when we look at that, that makes it easy to remember. It has no relation to Riesling as far as DNA, but it kind of gives you some of the same flavors and some of the feel with the added kick of spiciness. So when we look at a Gewurztraminer and we look at some classic pairings of what kind of foods go with it, there's one that stands out that's so obvious and so perfect, and that's spicy Asian food. So when we look at spicy Asian food and pairing that with a Gewurztraminer, it is absolutely perfect. So we talked about the Franco-Germanic border of Alsace and Germany and where we see the best expression of Gewurztraminer, but let's talk about some other parts of the world where Gewurztraminer grows. So if we look at it from the highest to the lowest and we break down by country just how much Gewurztraminer is planted, you see that just how small these plantings are. So the largest plantings are in Alsace, France, as we mentioned, 7,000 acres. So just 7,000 acres, and that's number one. If we cross over into areas like the United States, we see 3.2 thousand acres, 3,200 acres of total Gewurztraminer planted, a lot of it in the Finger Lakes area of New York State. We look at other countries like Hungary, Germany, and Australia. They're all tied with 2,000 acres per country for 6,000 total. So it's not a very widely planted grape, and there's some reasons for that. First off, it buds quite early and it ripens quite late. So when we look at that, that's a long time in the vineyard. We're susceptible to frost and freeze early on in the spring, and we have to make sure we have warmth late in the year to ensure that this grape gets ripe and it reaches its best expression in the glass. Also, it has naturally high sugar and fairly low acidity. So by having it in cooler weather areas, we can be assured that the balance between the sugar and the acidity reaches its peak and it doesn't become too fat or too flabby. So I picked a Gewurztraminer from Alsace. This comes to us from a vintner by the name of Willem, and let's go ahead and take a look at it and see what you might expect when you pick up a Gewurztraminer in your store, maybe for your next pairing with that spicy Asian meal. So the first thing that we see when we look at the Gewurztraminer is that it's very clear in the glass. It's a little bit darker than straw yellow, maybe bordering on golden. If we swirl to liberate the aromas, first thing that comes out of the glass is a very strong aroma of lychee. When we think about Gewurztraminer, it is a very aromatic grape. So I get lychee, I get a little bit of passion fruit, I get a little bit of even maybe some smoky incense, and I think that's where the spiciness comes in. Let's go ahead and take a sip. When Willem's Gewurztraminer passes by the palate, we really get an unraveling of a lot of different flavors. Now, this is a dry style of Gewurztraminer, but when it crosses the palate, it certainly starts out anything but dry. I get really almost some fresh wild clover honey on the front side of the palate. I get that lychee that returns. I also get a little bit of peach and apricot. But in the middle, I'm getting a smokiness, a spiciness, really making this wine quite complex. And if you think about all the different flavor receptors you have on your tongue, this is igniting all of them and really giving you quite a pleasant experience. So I'd ask that you go out and find a Gewurztraminer in your local wine store and give it a try. I think you'll be very impressed, especially with spicy cuisine. So I'm going to get back and enjoy a little more of Willem's creation. And I ask that you tune in next time, because soon you'll know wine in no time.